Om Vishwam Darpan Drishyamana Nagari Tulyan Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivodbhutai Yatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Svatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Third mantra. Jagarita sthanaha bahishpragnyah saptangaha ekona vimshati mukhaha sthulabhuk vaishvanaraha prathamah padaha. So, it's the first quarter of the Atma, which is Brahman. I am Atma, Brahman. And there, this Vesti, Samashti are equated. Because Vesti is pervaded by Samashti, Samashti is perceived in Vesti. I give you an example. Suppose there is a pot in this room. Pot is in this room, and there will be definitely a pot space. And pot being in this room, there is a room space, hall space. And basically, now you can see here, the pot space is pervaded by the room space. The room space is perceived in pot space. Can be perceived. It can be perceived because it pervades. If room space pervades pot space, definitely in pot space you can perceive room space. And therefore, definitely this is a thing. Pot space, room space. But really speaking, this is Vesti Samashti. Think. But really speaking, there is nothing called pot space and room space. There is space. That's it. What is their reality? The essence in both is space. Why? Because the Upadhi called pot or the Upadhi called the room, the walls, cannot divide space. In fact, both this Upadhi exist in space. And therefore the reality of the pot space is space. Reality of the room space is space. Pot space is space. And room space is also space. And therefore, well, you can equate pot space and room space. Vesti Samashti you can equate. Because the differences really are not there. The division in space, so-called pot space, means the space which is divided by the pot. The space which is divided or is enclosed in room, etc. Well, is not a correct thing. Space cannot be divided. Only in your mind there is an error that there is really an entity now which is born called pot space. There is an entity which is born now called room space by constructing wall. Really speaking, it is just one whole space. Right? So, why that division, so-called division has occurred between Vesti Samashti? Upadhi. Room or pot. So-called division. There is no division as such. Division is not there. Upadhi seemingly created division between Vesti and Samashti. Upadhi created a seeming division between pot space and total space, Mahakash. We have already seen actually in 6th chapter of Panchadashi, all these 4 types of Chaturvida Akasha and Chaturvida Chaitanyam. So, we should understand, since Samashti is included, Samashti is talked about here, we have to take this room space, etc. Otherwise, I would have dropped it and directly taken pot space and rest of the space, which is outside space. But we have to take in between one room space also. So, pot space is a Vesti, room space is a Samashti. Really, Vesti, Samashti are basically space. In reality, it is space, and therefore you can equate. So this is how here it has been equated. Is a Prathama Pada, is this Atma's Prathama Pada, Brahma's Prathama Pada is this differentiated creation, well, which is in terms of Adhyatma and Adidaiva, etc. One consciousness identified with one physical body. Consciousness, which is the basis, like a space. Basis means here Adhishthanam, not Adhara. Consciousness, which is the Adhishthanam, basis for the physical body. Well, that consciousness, identifies with one physical body, becomes Vishwa, the Vesti, and consciousness identified with the cosmos, becomes Samashti. And one more thing. So when you take this body, one physical body, and it's a gross body, means, and you can take any other gross body and gross objects entirely. So one gross body, one gross object, and there are billions of another gross objects. Now here, if you want to take collectively all of them together, then you have to coin a new word. Even though everything is a gross object, this is a gross object, this is a gross object, this is a gross object, but you want to collectively take them together, then if you take them together, then you have to give one name, and that is Virat. That's called Virat. Could you follow? Virat is this. Virat definitely includes this body also. Virat includes other bodies and other objects also, gross objects. So this is like one, you say either a one tree, and when you see thousands trees together and you want to take them collectively, all thousands trees together, you coin a new word called forest. So this is how it is. There is no forest without a tree. So Swamiji, it is all collection of the trees only. That's true, but you have to, now you can't tell all the time collection of trees. Put together, all together trees. No, you coin a new word called forest. One wave is there, you say wave. Then there are millions of waves, you say ocean. So collectively. So this is Samashti is nothing but a collectively you understand a Vesti. Collectively, together you understand a Vesti. This is how very beautifully described Vesti Samashti. For your reference, I am telling you. Vesti Samashti beautifully described. Like this, exactly like this. In Vedanta. Excellent description of Vesti, Samashti, and ultimately Apavada. This is all Adhyaropa only, and that Apavada will be in the 4th chapter. That Vesti also is Brahman, and Samashti also is Brahman or Atma. And this is how this Adhyaropa, the first 3 chapters I told you already, are the chapters of Adhyaropa, in which this will be there, and in that especially 2nd chapter, where this Ishvara Sushti has been said, there this Vesti Samashti division they show. So Vishwa Tejas Prajna and that way Virat or Hiranyagarbha and Antaryami, etc. So same thing. So we can understand very well. So basically, we gave a new name, Virat. But Swamiji, it's all collection of all gross bodies, gross objects, everything. This gross creation, And so it is some Sthula Prapancha only, which is nothing but put together all gross things, gross objects and bodies, etc. So we should, but for that a new name, because Virat. So, but Swamiji, so Sthula Prapancha is Virat. Consciousness is the basis, I already told you. So, You say, part space and room space, etc. You keep saying and saying. I would say, talk about this adhisthana, which is a reality of both. And when you look at the adhisthana, you find both are one alone. Part space is space. So part space is mithya, created by upadhi called part. Created. Created means really part has created a part space? No. In your mind it is. Part space is in your mind because the space cannot be divided. The very wall has a space. Anyway, this is just by the way. So here the Saptanga, why Saptanga, the Samashti has been included. That is the thing which is going on. Anyway. And so Bhashyakara says here, evam cha sati sarva prapancha upashame advaita siddhi. So evam cha sati, once this plurality of this Vishwa etc. is negated, means Vishwa Virat is Aikyam, and because Sthula Sharira can be many, so parts can be many. That way the appearance of the part spaces are many. Right? Even though there are many part spaces which are present in one room, one hall, yet one Virat, one hall space pervades all part spaces. Right? And in reality both are space. That's it. Which is one whole, undivided whole. All the divisions between Vishwa and Virat, or the division between Vishwa and Vishwa, Jivas, etc., that division is false division. The division between part space and the hall space is mithya. The division between one part space and another part space is mithya. What is there is just one space. We have to resolve. This is called resolution. Seeing the part space, you resolve the part space. Seeing the duality, you resolve the duality. Cognitively. In your experiences, there will be many part spaces. There will be also, you will see the division between a part space and the room space, etc. And it's because the part space has a one usage and the room space has another usage. What you use, the space in the room or hall which you use cannot be used in a pot. Pot space is used for filling up water. Hall space or room space cannot be used for filling up the water. Maybe for the filling of the people that is there, but not for the filling of water. And therefore, so definitely the use is different. Therefore, you may feel that there is really a part space which is created in the space by the pot, Upadhi. No, it's not true. Anyway, and so evam cha sati, this being so, the division between Vishwa and Vishwa Virat Aikyam is there, and the same way we are going to see the Taijasa Hiranyagarbha also, same, the division is also not there, and Antaryami etc., Prajnantaryami also will not be there. So, Sarva Prapancha Upashame, along with this Shariyatraya, you are resolving Prapanchatraya also, Sarva Prapancha. So, all these people, this Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, etc., they have got this Bahutvam of Atma, manyness, of the Atma. So, that has been answered. That is not true. Because we only are talking about oneself, which is the truth of everything, in entire Prapancha. So, others all, and Sankhya as well definitely say the Atmas are many, and each Atma is limitless. In that how it is, we don't understand. Nayayikas, even Mimamsaka also believes that there are many Atmas. That Jiva alone, they call it as Atma, and that goes to Swarga, etc., performing Yaga, etc., all this. So only Uttara Mimamsakas, Vedantins. And in Vedanti, as I told you, Advaita Vedantin, because there are Vishishta Advaitin also, and other people, they also don't talk like this. And and this kind of this is this is, I mean, not only Shankaracharya ji asserts in this Mandukya, in Taittiriya also, in Panchakosha, Viveka, etc., where done in Brahmanandvalli. At the end of every kosha, there is a mantra, Tadapesha Shlokaha Bhavati. Tadapi means Tasmin Arthe Shlokaha, Mantraha Bhavati. So what has been described for Annamaya has been described. That's true. That's a Brahmana portion. And then for that, the Upanishad itself quotes a mantra, Tadapesha Shloko Bhavati. And there, in each that mantra, Ruk mantra, well, basically, Annamaya Kosha, suppose, has been described. Then Annamaya Kosha means Vesti. That Annamaya Kosha and Annam, Samashti, have been equated. Annadvai Prajah Prajayanti. After description of Annamaya Kosha, Vesti, well, they say Annadvai Prajah Prajayanti. So then Prajaha, Prajayanti, all these are born from Annam. So that is Samashti. So therefore, Samashti Veshti division are really, since they are not really there, and Upanishad does not have a purport in that Dvaitam. Why Dvaitam? Okay, that let me talk to you later. So anyway, so Pranamaya Kosha also there same thing. After description of Pranamaya Kosha, again Tadapesha Shloko Bhavati, and then immediately Upanishad talks about Samashti Prana, and that is Prana. Pranam Deva Anuprananti Manushyaha Pashavashchai. So Pranam Devaha Anuprananti. Devaha means Indriyani. So this Indriyani Anuprananti. Following this prana, definitely Indriyas also Anuprananti, they also breathe in. Means they are able to function their own things based on this Mukhya Prana, etc. So that is how even Indriyani also sometimes called Devaha. Indriya is a Deva. We will be coming to that, Adhideva, I will talk to that. So our Indriyas are called Pranas also, that you know. That is how in Chandogya, in a Vedantic Upanishad, there is a Upasana on Prana as a Jeshtha and Shrestha. And the story, etc. You know that compared to Indriyas, well, Prana alone is the one which really supports everything. Indriyas doesn't support. Prana supports the life. Indriya thought that we are supporting, and then they understood the reality. Anyway, so Shankaracharya ji makes the same observation here, which was there even in Taittiriya also. Veshti Samashti Aikyam is there. And ultimately, the reality is not, this is not fair to say, well, what you perceive in a pot space is really room space. And room space is really pervading pot space. This is not the reality. Reality is space, undivided whole space, no division at all. And what you division you felt, their empirical division, a certain usefulness is also there, and empirical divisions are not real divisions created by the Upadhi in your mind. Created by Upadhi in your mind. There is no division in space, in reality, only in your mind. Yeah. Because you find a different usage. Therefore, you feel that there is a real entity called pot space, born when the pot is born. Not true. So that is how the whole thing is resolved ultimately into one thing, which is Advaita Siddhi. Okay. Sarva bhutasthascha atma ekah drashtah sarva bhutani cha atmani yastu sarvani bhutani ityadi shrutyarthah upasamrutascha evam syat. So sarva bhutascha atma, that is we have just seen, but I could not really speaking justify much in the last class, so I thought let me take this portion again. So, and that is this is from, I think Shankaracharya ji has this in mind, the 6th chapter, 29th and 30th verse. Really speaking, 30th verse is a restatement. The first line in the 30th verse of the 6th chapter is a restatement of the verse 29 only. And Sarvabhutastham Atmanam, etc. And there basically, in the 6th chapter, I give you the context that the person who is doing a meditator, who is doing a Nidhyasanam, well, he sees the self like this. So Atmanam Ikshate, he sees Atma like this. How? Well, or he knows the Atma like this. So what self does this person see? Well, as such, everyone sees or knows the self as oneself as a person, basically having a certain history and a biography which is identical with the physical body naturally, and experiences based on the physical body. So, and this body is again connected to many bodies, and therefore there is a relationship, brother, sister, all this kind of things are there. This is what I know. I myself know as a physical body, and the experience is born of that. And as a physical body, I am related to others. Therefore, I know myself as a brother, sister, etc. So, and this person, so this then, well, this self that is known is connected, actually connected to where? The physical body. And so, person who abides in this body. But here, this Nididhyasana Karta basically recognizes himself, herself as the self that abides in all the things. That's the difference. The self which abides in this body itself and thereby connected to body and other things, etc., has a one type of understanding of the self. But this person, Nididhyasana Karta, knows the self which abides in all the beings. That is called Sarvabhutastham Atmanam. Sarvabhutastham Atmanam means one sees oneself, Pashyati. Pashyati, he says. So, Sarvabhutastham Atmanam Saha Nididhyasana Karta Pashyati. This meditator sees the self as one which abides in all the beings, as a Asthibhati. Asthibhati, as abide in all the beings. Abide means definitely it abides in every cell of the body, in every DNA of the body, in every atom of the body. Asthibhati cannot be, there is nothing in this body where Asthibhati is not there. So the Asthibhati, please understand this, that Asthibhati alone is Asmibhami. We are not going into that. If you are really interested in doing the meditations, Asthibhati, how Asmibhami, etc., please do meditations which are available on our YouTube. Pujya Swamiji's meditation, 102 meditations. In there, some of the meditations are these meditations, and I really recommend you to do that meditations. Asthibhati, he makes you dwell on Asthibhati, 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 Asthibhati. Nothing is away from Asthibhati. One form, another form, in between space, everything, everywhere, Asthibhati, 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 Asthibhati. Name form keep changing also. Asthibhati never changes. That's a reality. And then he comes to Asmibhami. Asthibhati, ultimately you are able to say, because there is something which is Bhami, which shines, self-shining. That's how you say any object shines, and therefore any object is Asti, etc. So wonderful meditations are there, Nidhyasana. So then if you do those meditations, you will be able to say what this Nidhyasana Karta is saying right now in 6th chapter. Sarvabhutastham Atmanam Yaha Pashyati. So, and not that much. Well, Sarvabhutani Atmani Evacha Pashyati. So, well, all the beings have their being in himself, herself, or in the self alone. Sarvabhutani cha Atmani. So, like, all the parts have their being in one clay. Clay is Atma of that, Adhishthanam of that, etc. So, Atma runs through basically everything, and at the same time everything is in Atma. So that is what it means. And so, and that is called Samadarshanam. Samadarshanam is Atma Darshanam alone. And same thing is told in 30th verse, Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra. So Sarvabhutastham Atmanam is put into the first person. So basically Sarvabhutastham Atmanam, instead of Atmanam in the 30th verse it is Mam. That's it. And Sarvabhutastham in verse 29 is Sarvatra here in 30th verse. That's it. Same thing Bhagavan has repeated. Sarvabhutastham Atmanam is equal to Sarvatra Mam. Pashyati will be common in both. Could you follow what I am saying? I hope you are understanding. So basically Sarvabhutastham, which is present in all the beings. So instead Bhagavan is using Sarvatra, in all. It's on all beings, etc. Okay. So Ityadi Shrutyarthaha. Well, and Yastu Sarvani Bhutani, that is Ishavasya, also talks about the same thing. Yastu Sarvani Bhutani, Atmani eva Nupashyati, Sarva Bhuteshu Atmanam, Tato na Vijugupsati, etc. And so, basically, one Atma pervades in all, and everything has a being in one Atma, and therefore Atma is non-dual. That's it, nothing else. Atma is non-dual. So there is one Atma, there are not many Atmas. So Vishwa, all Vishwas are different. And in Vishwa, why should we take only Vakers as only human beings? All other animals and insects which are right now in a waking state, all they are also Vishwa. So how many Vishwa? You are different, I am different, etc. So that's how the Sankhyas are basically. That is how they are not able to come out of this Dvaitam. Anyway. So ityadi shrutyarthaha. So this is the Shruti arthaha. This is the meaning of this Shruti, Ishavasya, etc., showing the non-duality of Atma. There is nothing other than Atma, because everything has a being in Atma, and at the same time Atma alone pervades everything, right? And therefore there is nothing other than Atma. Whatever is other is basically is Mithya. So Shrutyarthaha, this meaning of the Shruti, Upasamhrutaha, reinforced that there is one Atma, non-dual Atma, Advaita. So Advaitam is basically Sarva Prapancha Upashame, Advaita Siddhi is reinforced by, the meaning of the Shruti, etc., is reinforced by Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita, in Smriti, and in Shruti also. Then further, Bhashyakara says, Anyatha hi swadeha parichinna eva pratyagatma Sankhyaadibihi eva drashtah syat tatha cha sati Advaitam iti shruti krutah visheshah na syat Sankhyaadi darshanena avisheshat. So, anyatha, if you don't do this, so Vesti Samashti Aikyam is not seen at the very beginning level, and then, then you will not be able to arrive at, ultimately, after resolving everything cognitively, you will not be able to arrive at, this Aikyam. So you have to see the Aikyam between Vesti and Samashti from the beginning itself. Vesti and Samashti, that kind of things are born because of a Upadhis. That's it. One is Avidya Upadhi, other is a Maya Upadhi, etc. And therefore, there is really this Upadhis are Mithya. Either Avidya, Karana Sharira, or this Maya, etc. is Mithya. Therefore, basically, the Brahman with this Avidya looks a Vyashti as a Jiva. Brahman with this Maya, etc. will be appear as a Ishvara, etc. And that Ishvara could be either as a Hiranyagarbha or as a Virat, etc. But the division between Vyashti and Samashti is born of Upadhi, which is Mithya, and therefore the Bheda between them also is Mithya. What is there is just one Brahman, which is Atma. I am Atma, Brahman. So, Swadeha Parichinna Pratyagatma. One who is conditioned by this physical body, the self which is conditioned by this physical body, Sankhyaadi bihi eva drashtah syat. So, then that self, Pratyagatma is the inner self, which is conditioned by the physical body, etc. Because what is inner cannot be outer, naturally. If I am in the room, then at the same time I am outside also cannot be said. So, if it is an inner self, means a condition, it is conditioned by the physical body, or it abides only in this body, etc., then definitely there will be many Atmas. That's what Sankhyaadi bihi eva drashtah syat. Like the Sankhya philosophers, we should also say there are many Atmas. And tatha cha sati advaitam iti shrutihi shruti krutah visheshah na syat. Tatha cha sati, in such an eventuality or in such a case, advaitam, which is Advaita teaching, which is Shruti Krutaha Vishesha, which is the uniqueness of the Upanishad, will not nasyat, will not be there. Will not be, Upanishad will not be able to communicate non-duality. And if Upanishad is not able to communicate non-duality, then what a big deal. Why you are worrying about? If Upanishad is not able to communicate this non-duality, and it establishes Atmas, there are many Atmas. So Dvaitam will be there. If the Dvaitam will be there, then why should we study Prasthanatrayam, etc.? So basically, we did not have to study Prasthanatrayam. In fact, there is no goal of life. Everyone wants non-duality alone. Everyone wants. I am talking about samsari. If you seek something, you are a non-dualist with respect to what is sought. As long as there is a duality between seeker and sought, as long as there is a separation between, the duality means separation between seeker and sought, there are always a missed heartbeats. There are heartburns. There is pain. Once you gain what you seek, the seeker-sought division is gone away. There is fullness. How can you say there is fullness? There are only two things. One is I, another is non-I. That is everything. And there is something which you are seeking. That is this world. So seeker-sought is the subject-object, nothing else. Nothing else is there. And that division goes away between seeker and sought. Therefore, there is fullness. There is definitely fullness. That's why the fullness which you experience is the happiness. And therefore, so there is fullness, ananda. And centered on I. Centered on I. I am no more a seeker once the sought comes. And sought is not a sought. Sought is not a sought. If you are a seeker, there is something sought. If seeker sought comes together, seeker is no more a seeker, sought is not a sought. Both are as though resolved in one flame of joy. Yeah. And therefore, so understanding this oneness, the whole in the perceived difference is the essence of Advaita. So, and that is the goal. Advaita alone is the goal because Advaita means this fullness, whole, subject object, happiness, that's the goal. Therefore, if Upanishad does not establish, and there is one more thing, if there is such a thing as a whole, then it cannot be separate from you also, common sense. And in that case, you have to say I am whole, but I am not able to say. Then there is ignorance. That's what I am, Atma Brahman. Therefore, you are whole. That is the purport of the Shastra. So Shastra has to establish there are no many eyes. There are no many Atmas, okay? That's the thing. And therefore, Sankhyas and all people, they basically, when they say Pratyaya Atma, they feel that this, the consciousness which is identified or conditioned or confined to this body, that's it. Then there will be manyness of the Atma, etc. Then there is no goal of life at all. Goal of life is fullness. Simple. Fulfillment, fullness, wholeness. You want to see yourself as a whole. In fact, I want to see, I want to prove that I am a very significant being in your eyes. Really. I want to prove myself a very significant, very important person. I don't like insignificance. I don't like to prove myself an insignificant being in your eyes. I try a lot to prove that I am a very significant being. Yeah. All the time your heart is seeking. The significance is this wholeness. Insignificant means this is a small being. When you don't take yourself as a whole being, you take yourself being a self-conscious, you take yourself as a small being. That's what is there. In every life, one takes oneself to be a small being, and the journey is to complete, to get the wholeness. And therefore, that cannot be. Advaita alone is the goal of life. Even simple understanding of a seeker sought by this extrovert person. So, when the seeker-sought division goes away, when you no more see yourself as a seeker, and therefore there is nothing which is sought. If you are a seeker, there is something called sought. But when they become one, seeker and sought, the division goes away. If seeker-sought division goes away, then basically as though they become one whole. That's what we experience. Anyway, so this is so Shruti Kruta, So Shruti Krutaha Visheshaha Nasyat. Shruti Krutaha Advaitam, Ashikara says. Advaitam iti Shruti Krutaha Visheshaha. This is the uniqueness of the Shruti. Upanishad to establish that there is a Advaitam. There is a non-duality. Nasyat will not remain. Sankhyaadipihi iva drishtaha syat. Atma will be seen like it is seen by Sankhyaadi. Means Nayayikas, Vaisheshikas, yoga people, and our Mimamsakas, all. And even including Vishishtadvaitin also, and all these people. In Astikas, they are all there. And why Shrutikruta Vishesha Nasyat? Sankhyaadi Darshanena Avisheshat. And because Vedanta, Vishesha, difference, right? Avishesha, no difference. So Sankhyaadi Darshanena. Well, Vedanta will not be different from this philosophy of Darshana of this Sankhya. And that, well, that should not be our conclusion. Therefore what? Ishyate cha sarva upanishadam pratipadakatvam. Ishyate sarva upanishadam sarvatmaikya pratipadakatvam. So basically, well, Atma ekatvam alone is the pratipadakatvam. Atma alone is the central message, purport of sarva upanishadam. So of all the Upanishads. Ishyate, that's desirable, that they want to establish. And therefore, well, this is how this from the beginning itself, Vesti Samashti Veda is Vesti Samashti are put together. That so-called division is estho division born of Mithya Upadhi called Avidya and Maya. That's it, nothing else. That brings this Vesti Samashti. That's Adhyaropa. Vesti Samashti is Adhyaropa. If Avidya is Adhyaropita on same Atma and Brahman, and Maya also is Adhyaropita on Brahman. That's how they are Mithya. And the division created by them also is Mithya. Therefore, from the beginning itself, by showing the various stages, various padas, quarters of Atma, Upanishad keeps it very clear to keep them together. Means once you negate that I am not a waker, you simultaneously negate Virat also. That's the thing. Then only you can arrive at I am Atma, Brahman. And then Bhashyakara further it says, Ataha yuktameva asya adhyatmikasya Virat pindatmanaha dyulokadi angatvena Viradatmana adidevikena ekatvam abhipretya saptangatva vachanam. Bhashyakara now it is, he has justified. This saptanga has come in, means equating Vesti Samashti, and for that the word is saptanga, etc. So, well, he says, Ataha yuktameva. Therefore, this is proper. That asya adhyatmikasya pindatmanaha. Pinda means this gross body. So, the pindatma means the consciousness identified with this gross body called Vekara. Pindatmanaha means Vishwasya, which is adhyatmikasya. Well, dyulokadi angatvena Virat Atmana. So, and then there is a cosmic being which is Virat. Well, and there also dyulokadi angatvena. Here there is a head, there is a head. Here there are eyes, there are eyes. Saying that, it's, well, it is implied that Vesti Samashti Veda is really not there. All the angas which are there here in a Vesti, in a Vishwa, are also there in a Samashti, in a cosmic being also. That's how Saptanga has been described, to indicate here there is a head, and then there is also a head. And here also there are eyes. Here there is a middle part. Pada is there, there pada is there. Everything. So this is the implied. Ekatva abhipretya, well, definitely. So there is a abhipretya, intending the oneness ultimately. Adidevikena, that which is in the form of Adideva. We have already discussed this Virat Atma, cosmic being, which is in the form of Adideva. Ekatva abhipretya, saptangatva vachanam. So well, this word saptanga, which is there in the Prathama Pada of the Atma, you can understand that it is not wrong. And then further, Murdhate Vyapadishyata ityadi linga darshanacha. So, then Shankaracharya ji gives another support for equating this Vesti Samashti, Vishwa and Virat, etc., because of Pratham Pada we are talking, borrowing an idea from a Chandogya Upanishad. And the number is 512.2. Bhashyakara has quoted partly here. And it is, all the 5 chapters of the Chandogya are Upasana. So this also belongs to 5th chapter, means pertaining to Upasana, Virat Upasana. The last three chapters, there are 8 chapters in Chandogya. The last three chapters, Sadvidya Prakranam, Bhuma Vidya Prakranam, etc., Prajapati Vidya, these are the 3 chapters belong to Vedanta and pertain to knowledge. And the first 5 chapters are of Upasana. So this is in that portion, this is there. And to understand this portion well, you should know the background of the Chandogya. There, we have discussed already in when Saptanga has been described, because that is all that belongs to, for Saptanga, what are the angas of this Virat Purusha, cosmic being, and then heaven is the head and all that. That is from Chandogya only, 5:18-2, if you remember. This is 5:12-2. But there is one story. We have to understand this Murdhate Vyapapatishyat, etc. So, what is the background? Well, some disciples say, go to a teacher. I told you a king. King is a teacher here, and Ashvapati, and he has gained knowledge like King Janaka. He has gained this knowledge, Brahma Vidya, Grihastha Jnani, example, Janaka Ashvapati. So there, there is a lot of encouragement for all of you. Anyway, so and each of the disciple basically does an Upasana and Virat Upasana. And instead of taking the whole cosmic being, which is Virat, they take a one part of that as Virat. Like, what is the Virat? Sun is Virat. Means sun is the eyes of Virat. No. That's it. That is the teaching ultimately Ashvapati gave later. But before that, all these Upasakas came to Ashvapati. And then Ashvapati asked them, what are you doing? They say, we are doing Upasana on Virat. Okay. So how do you look upon Virat? How do you look upon, because you have to take Alambana. In Upasana, there will be Alambana. And Alambanam will be there, and which you impose, superimpose, it's a deliberate superimposition, Upasana. So you superimpose Virat on that. So yes, the first student said, well, so but before that, let me tell you, instead of taking the whole cosmos, looking upon as a one conscious being, cosmic being, well, they are taking different portion of the universe as the Virat. So one Shishya said, well, I meditate upon the heaven as the Virat. Not heaven is the head of the Virat. No, heaven is Virat, he said. And I meditate upon heaven. Means what is Virat? Heaven. Heaven is just a head. No, he was not knowing. So that's how they came here, and they said, well, we are doing meditations like this, are we right, etc. And then Ashvapati corrected them and told that, well, these are all angas. So that is a part of that. The whole being is, Virat is this entire cosmos. And therefore, you are just meditating upon one part, etc. So anyway, so I meditate upon heaven as a Virat. Another says, I meditate upon sun as a Virat. Somebody says, I meditate upon that central portion, Sandeha, as a Virat. So each one said, and this teacher, well, Ashvapati, and said, well, if you do this meditation, you won't get the full benefit. Not only that, you will have a disadvantage also. And what is that? When you take heaven as the Virat, what's the mistake you are doing? Well, heaven happens to be only the head of the Virat. Bhupado yasya nabhir vyadasura chandra suryau cha netre. So therefore, well, definitely you are taking head, just head. Naturally, heaven is a head, but you think heaven is Virat. Then actually you are taking, heaven is just heaven is a head. So you are taking just head as a Virat. And well, another person is taking that Surya, the sun, as the total Virat. What is the truth? Sun is the one chakshu of the Virat. So they are doing, they want a complete result. They said, so in order to get a complete result, you have to worship, you have to meditate a Virat as a Virat. You may worship through something, but you are worshipping Virat. So looking upon heaven as the head of the Virat, that's another thing. But heaven is the Virat, if you say, well, that's not correct. Heaven is the Virat, that's wrong. Therefore, you will get a definitely grace of Ishvara, but you will not get a complete result. because you are meditating upon a part of it, part of the Virat Purusha, Ishvara. So you are all doing Vesta Upasana, and you are not doing Samasta Upasana, and you are thinking it as a Samasta Upasana. That's it. You are doing the Vesta Upasana. Vesta means a part. I mean, so definitely in that case you are committing a blunder, and therefore if you take heaven as a full Virat, which is just a head of the Virat in reality, for that mistake what will happen? You will lose the head. You will lose the head. Swamiji, this is not fair. We don't like this. Okay, we'll see something else, other interpretation. Nothing to worry. So, so you will lose your head, because really what was the head of the Virat you are worshipping as the Virat. Therefore, murdhate vyapatishyata iti. This is called Ninda Shruti, which you should not do. Arthavada could be in two forms. Shadlingas. If you remember Shadlingas, yeah. Upakrama upasamharo abhyaso apurvata phalam arthavado upapattisya lingam tatparya nirnay. In order to arrive at the purport of the Upanishad, well, what Upanishad has a central teaching? Well, then in that case you have to apply the 6 lingas to the text and see Upavada, Upakrama Upasamhara. What is in the beginning, what is in the end? See that? And that can be a central teaching, purport of the Upanishad, because begins with that, ends with that. In the conclusion also you will find that, in the introduction you find that. Upakrama Upasamhara, Abhyasaha, what is repeated again and again in the Upanishad. That means in order to emphasize, that could be the central teaching. Upakrama Upasamharo Abhyasaha Apurvata. Does the Upanishad talk about something which you could not know through any other means of knowledge? Then that could be the central, because Upanishad is Pramana. Then Pramana has to give you knowledge which you cannot gather from other means of knowledge. What eyes give you knowledge cannot be available by any other means of knowledge. Neither ears can give, neither tongue can give, neither your sense of touch can give. Therefore we call Pramana, means of knowledge, has to give. Anadigatam, abaditam, arthavat bodhakam pramanam. I don't go into that too much, but so apurvata. Abhyasaha apurvata. Upanishad as a means of knowledge should give you knowledge of something which is unique, which you cannot, you will feel that, oh, this I came to know for the first time. Not repeating something. So abhyasaha apurvata phalam. And it should give you, Upanishad, wherever it talks about a result of a certain knowledge, then that could be the purpose. Because you are interested in phalam. You don't want to know for the sake of knowing. You want a jnana phalam. We want moksha. Jnana phalam. And therefore, abhyasaha apurvata phalam. Then arthavada. What is the thing which is praised? Or what is the thing which is criticized in Upanishad? If a thing which is criticized, the tatparya is not in that. And what is praised, well, definitely the tatparya, the purport of the Shastra will be in that. Yeah. So there are two types of arthavada. Neha nanasti kinchana, mrutyoscha mrityu apnoti, yahya nana iva pashyati. Neha nanasti kinchana, na iha, asmin loke. In this cosmos, there is nothing, no duality, nanatva. There is no duality at all. Yahya nana iva pashyati. Upanishad says, he may understand. Nana iva, it says. So there is no duality, which is as though duality, but this person takes it as a real. Yahya nana pashyati. Even though it is eva. Well, where there is no duality, the person sees duality. Then, well, he gets a capital punishment. Right? Mrityosya mrityum apnoti. Yamadharmaraja says, so we have to take it as a capital punishment. Okay? Yeah, he is a big judge. Yamadharmaraja says he is authentic. He is a devata, mrityu devata. So, this is how Upanishad says. Therefore, that is a ninda. Ninda of what? Dvaitam. Therefore, that's not a tatparya. The reverse is tatparya. The opposite is tatparya. Advaitam is tatparya. And then Advaita Jnanam, Phalam, etc. is also shown. Advaita, and one who gains Advaita Jnanam also has been praised. The person has been praised as Sthita Prajna, etc. The wise persons are praised. All this indicate the purport of the Shastra is basically Advaitam. Anyway, so Murdhate Vyapatishyat. This is a Ninda actually. So if you really do a meditation on Duloka, on the Swarga, as the Virat, means you don't take that the Swarga has any other basis. Right? Virat is the basis of this, because that's one of the anga. Like my head is Mukta. I mean, this head, this head is Muktatma. No, head is one of the anga of this conscious being. Right? This conscious being is a basis for these various limbs. So you are committing a big mistake. You are taking heaven as without basis. You take sun without basis. Oh, Surya hai eva Virat. No, Surya is one eye of the Virat. Virat is the basis. Ultimately conscious, the Atma is the basis. So you are taking that, you are committing a blunder. It's actually a false, right? When you say this Swarga is Virat, means it's a false statement. In order to indicate false statement, what should you do? So this is the thing. Murdhate vyapatishyate. So when you said Swarga does not have a basis, well, it doesn't become so. Right? Swarga has a basis. You don't know. And you worship Swarga as, please understand me, Swarga as Virat. So basically, even if you take Swarga as Virat, it's not going to become that Swarga will be Virat only now. It cannot be. Means your statement that Swarga is Virat is false. If you look upon Swarga as a Virat, it's not going to be that the Swarga will be Virat. Swarga has a basis in the Virat. And to indicate that, it is said, well, it is like saying your head is to fall off. Just because someone said, your head will fall off. And it will fall off. Swamiji, how it will be possible? False statement. Same way if you worship like this, the heaven is the Virat. Heaven is the Virat. Heaven is the Virat. It's not going to become. Like, if I say, well, your head will fall, and it will fall. Will it happen? No. My statement is false. Same way your statement, heaven is Virat. Heaven is Virat. Heaven is Virat. It's not going to become like that. Your statement is false. That's the thing. Could you follow what I'm saying? Swamiji, this kind of thing, so his head will fall off, beheaded. You should understand. So Ninda, to indicate the false statement, this is how it has been shown. Could you follow or not? I don't know whether what I'm saying you are understanding or not. Just because one takes the heaven as a head, it's not going to become. Only the person's statement that heaven is head is false. To indicate that, this is example. Just because I say your head will fall, means your head will really fall. No, Swamiji, it cannot happen. Means what? My statement is false. Could you follow? This much you follow? Yeah. Because many people have asked me this question. Swamiji, this is what Upanishad? Doing this kind of way, cursing and all that? No. It is called Ninda Shruti. Means what worship you are doing, what meditations you are doing, well, is not a correct meditations. Well, so looking like I told you, seeing Dvaitam everywhere as a reality, perceptually it will remain. We have seen that. In spite of duality, there is something non-duality. You don't see it, that Advaita Vastu, which is reality behind that, then you take the duality as a reality. Well, in that case, it said, you will get a capital punishment. That's that kind of a thing. Could you follow? Ninda Shruti. So here it is Murdhate Vyapatishyat, there it is capital punishment. One who sees the duality as the reality, well, Upanishad says you will get capital punishment. Here one who looks upon only heaven as a head, a heaven as a Virat, well, definitely gets this beheaded. Is also another type of punishment. So this, please understand this, because one person last year was so much upset with this kind of statement. In Buddhanika it is there. Anyway, so to indicate false statement, to indicate, and to criticize it, so that a person will come out of it. And the correction has been done by the Ashvapati later. And that is the mantra we have seen, 518.2, where he said, look, the heaven is just a head. Dulokaha, murdha evate sutejaha, etc., etc. तस्य हवा एतस्य आत्मनः मूर्धा एव सुतेजाः संदेहः बहुलः etc., etc., भूः पादौ etc., all these things. 518.2, he said, well, so you look upon, now you worship, you take alambana of a duloka, heaven, no problem, but definitely now it has a basis. It is one of the limb of the Virat. So you will look upon it as a one limb of the Virat. So through that limb you are worshipping what? Virat. Like you are touching me here, right? Well, but my whole attention comes. So through one anga, you basically invoking whole Virat. And therefore, once you invoke the whole Virat, for that you have to invoke in one limb. That's enough. The whole attention of the Virat will come. But then you get the complete benefit. So this is 512.2. And then 518.2 is Ashvapati corrects their understanding, etc. And that's how it goes. We'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.